Hello ladies and gentlemen, Tevaron here and welcome to another episode of Friday Night Magic. This week we are going to be playing a deck that I like to call Blue-White Value Town, plus a few resident Eldrazi, if you like that sort of thing. The goal of this deck is to simply outvalue your opponents with creatures that provide a little extra benefit, either when they come into play or when they attack or whatever, although there are a few creatures in here whose sole purpose is to just smash face. But that's enough of me droning on. Let's see what the deck looks like. We are playing 3 Topplegeist, a 1/1 flyer that has the upside of tapping a creature an opponent controls when it enters the battlefield, should we ever manage to achieve Delirium, which we can do, though it is a pretty rare thing. Then it will tap a creature that the opponent controls during their upkeep, which is nice. Would love to have access to Thraben Inspectors, however, that is not something they have seen fit to put into Magic Duels, so we're making do with the best 1-drop that fits with the deck theme that we can. In our 2-drop slot, we've got a pair of Knight of the White Orchids. This guy can fetch up some planes for us if the opponent happens to have more when we play it. Also, a first striking 2/2 is pretty fine on its own. We are also running a couple of Glint-Nest Cranes, a 1/3 flyer that lets us look at the top 4 cards of our library and put an artifact into our hand and the rest on the bottom. Our deck is not artifact glutted by any means, but the Glint-Nest Crane can occasionally hit, and its body is sufficient to block a lot of early aggression while getting in the air. Also, 2 Smuggler's Copters, as we've discussed in the past, sort of a ubiquitous vehicle in any aggro or mid-rangey deck in Magic Duels right now. Also a pair of Declaration in Stone. Declaration in Stone is a great removal spell, sort of a cure-all for troublesome creatures on the opponent's side. I do feel it is better in an aggressive or mid-range deck than it is in a controlling deck, because you really don't want your opponent to have the ability to draw more cards when you're on the defensive. Also a pair of Eldrazi Displacers. Value Town all in a creature. 3 mana, 3/3, and for 2 and a colorless, we can exile another target creature and return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. This will let us abuse our comes into play triggers, or just tap down the opponent's creatures so that we can either get through or not have to take that damage. A pair of Spell Quellers. Flash flying, enters the battlefield, exile target spell with converted mana cost 4 or less. They do get to recast the spell should Spell Queller ever leave the battlefield, but great tempo creature that also flies, so he gets the nod. 3 Reflector Mage, also kind of the definition of Value Town. 3 mana for a 2/3 that bounces a creature an opponent controls to its owner's hand, and then they can't cast it again until our next turn. We're running 3 Pilgrim's Eye, fixing our mana, also accelerating us a little bit, I guess you could say, making sure we hit our land drops. Also, a good body to emerge onto, hint, hint. And 2 Filigree Familiar. I will admit I was off base by a bit when I reviewed Filigree Familiar in our pre-released set review of Kaladesh. I thought Filigree Familiar would be everywhere and ubiquitous. It has been much less so, but he's okay and good in this deck, plus he's a cute little pup. Yes, he is. 2 Thought-Knot Seer, allowing us to strip the most relevant spells from our opponent's hand when it comes into play. They do get to draw a card when Thought-Knot Seer leaves the battlefield. However, in most cases, drawing something random is far less valuable than that really good spell we just took away from you. Also 3 Cloudblazer, 5 mana for a 2/2 flyer. That, when it enters the battlefield, lets us gain 2 life and draw 2 cards. Pretty good. And 2 Reality Smasher. a form of value in and of itself, as if a spell an opponent controls targets it, they have to discard a card or that spell gets countered. And it is also a huge body with trample and haste. And Skysovereign Consul Flagship is a monster. Flying, 6/5 vehicle. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, it deals 3 damage to a creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. The crew of 3 is a bit high, but this deck can easily pull that off. And 2 Drowner of Hope. 6 mana for a 5/5 that comes along with 2 1/1 Eldrazi Scions that can sack for mana, and the Drowner of Hope itself can sacrifice an Eldrazi and tap target creature. And at the very top of our curve, though hopefully we will not be having to cast it for the full 8 mana too often, is the big calamari himself, Elder Deep-Fiend, or Deep-Fiend, for those who don't like puns. A 5/6 with flash, emerge of 1 less than his actual mana cost, and when you cast the Deep-Fiend, tap up to 4 target permanents. Pretty good value in my book. Our mana base is 8 plains, 4 island, 1 waste, 2 prairie stream, 2 Westvale Abbey, 2 Glacial Fortress, 3 Aether Hub, and 3 Evolving Wilds. That's the deck list. On to the gameplay. Alright. Would love to have another white source actually in hand, but otherwise I think this is a very keepable hand. We'll go ahead and do that. We will lead off with the Evolving Wilds. We will be fetching up a plains with it. That way we can for sure cast our Reflector Mage turn 3 if we need to, and if we don't, we will drop the Pilgrim's Eye. Looks like black and white on the opposing side there. Not sure what other colors they may be running at present. Well, we top decked a Plains card, so we'll go ahead and play that out. That way we can deploy our Knight of the White Orchid next turn. Very unlikely that we'll actually be able to trigger its comes into play effect as we're on the play here, so we're not going to even bother trying to do that, though we do have 3 mana this turn, so perhaps it's actually better to just play Pilgrim's Eye, so we'll do that. And with this Pilgrim's Eye, we'll get our Singleton Waste to make sure that we can cast our Reality Smasher. Gotta be careful, the Waste full art and the Plains full art are similar color schemes. It's easy to make a mistake if you're not paying actual attention. So we're seeing Mardu colors thus far from the opponent. And there is Liliana, the Last Hope, going to kill our Pilgrim's Eye most likely here. Yep, bye-bye Pilgrim's Eye. So now we're actually 1 card away from Delirium. That's relevant for our Topplegeists. There is an Evolving Wilds. So I think the play here is to Evolving Wilds and Knight of the White Orchid. Next turn we will have Reality Smasher mana. That is, if the Skysovereign doesn't seem like a better play at that point. And when we fetch with this Wilds, I think we'll just go ahead and get another Plains. We are heavier on white than any other color in the deck. Referring to colorless sort of as a color, as it has different mana requirements. Alright. Looks like the opponent is on the control plan, so let's see if we can disrupt that. Get ourselves another Plains. And we will try to smash realities. And hopefully they don't have instant speed removal. If they don't, Lily is going down. If they do, well, Reality Smasher is, though it will cost them an extra card. Okay, they're shrinking it, so that will cost them a card, and then if they want to kill it, it will cost them 2 more cards. Seems okay. There's bye-bye to Harness Lightning, so I guess they're not actually killing the Smasher. I suppose they could have Languish in hand, Shrink Reality Smasher with Lily, and where she's not a spell, they don't actually have to discard a card, or just Planar Outburst. That will do the job as well. And they'll tick her up on nothing. Another Reality Smasher off the top would be awesome. Not to be, though, so we're going to play out our Skysovereign and have it deal 3 to Liliana. Keep her well within check here. If we could top deck another creature, pretty much any creature that we can cast at the same time as Reflector Mage, then we can crew the Skysovereign and hopefully finish her off, though again, they could have instant speed removal to deal with the Flagship. They would need to do it before we actually attacked, because its trigger from attacking the 3 damage will do the job on her. Topplegeist fits the bill, I think. So let's start with Reflector Mage, as it's a little bit harder to kill than Topplegeist. And then we'll play out the Topplegeist. They could kill this in response and make us unable to crew, which is what they are going to do. Well, that is a bit sad for us. We're still 1 card short for Delirium. Don't actually have that many sources that can add that 4th card type. Declaration and Stone's pretty much it. They're going to go ahead and kill off the Geist. I think I would like to get an Eldrazi Displacer at this point. Elder Deep-Fiend is perfectly serviceable though, and despite saying we wanted to emerge it most of the time, we are now going to hardcast it. Paying the full 8, we'll go ahead and tap down their red and black sources. Or red and white sources rather, leaving them black. Then we will crew. And unfortunately have to waste a few points of damage here, as we only have Liliana as the target, and she's bigger than the 3 damage. Target her with everything, so she'll be saying bye-bye. Let's see what the opponent has to answer this. It appears nothing, though again, there is instant speed removal available, and they may be more keen on killing the Flagship than the Deep-Fiend. Go ahead and get that 1 extra point of damage. And nothing to target with its attack trigger. They do indeed have instant speed removal. Well, Flagship down, Deep-Fiend still active. And now we need to start drawing our actual value creatures. Cloudblazer, Eldrazi Displacer, Thought-Knot Seer, Reality Smasher. Any of these things would be awesome. Not to be, though. Let's go ahead and swing. Looks like we will be connecting for 5 here. And we will play out a land. Don't ever really want to hold more than 1 mana in your hand. You can really mess yourself up that way if you need to cast multiple things in a turn, like with us. If we top deck Cloudblazer and then draw things we want to cast, we don't want them to draw cards. Let them mill and we'll take some damage. Taking 8 there, I believe? Yes. And speaking of the devil, okay. Not the best. We can't really swing through. This guy is big enough to take on our Deep-Fiend and Wind, especially since it has first strike. So we'll deploy our Westvale Abbey and play out Pilgrim's Eye. Thin our deck out of lands a bit here. Yes. Go ahead and get an island. And we will pass the turn. Now we have kind of an aerial force here, though we could get Languished or Planar Outbursted from the opponent, as they are in those colors, or just Tragic Arrogance. So we're going to be left with the Pilgrim's Eye, unfortunately. We will take this 6, I think. No blocks. Luckily, this guy is not trample. Play our island we fetched up. And I suppose we will swing in for a measly 1. Unfortunately, this game does seem to be slipping away from us. And pass. Planning on blocking this Gearhulk with the Westvale Abbey token. Better to take 1 damage than 6. Though if they have removal, we're probably just dead. We can expect an attack from the Shambling Vent. Then we will go down to 7, and if they kill that token, we are going to die. Go ahead and make a Cleric here. Alright, looks like we are getting to block, so we live another turn. Okay. At 5 life here. Opponent gaining some life themselves. Still not at Delirium. You'll go ahead and play out the Topplegeist. Nothing to really be tapping down. We'll target the Gearhulk. And again, we'll just swing in for 1. And Avacyn comes to ruin our day. And that is game 1. I mean, we can survive this turn, probably, but don't think we're going to get out of it at this point. We need to block both of these. And as such, we'll be taking 3 total, and it doesn't matter, they have Unlicensed Disintegration. So, we're dead. Good game, opponent. Hopefully our deck will function just a little bit better in the coming games. And I will see you in the next one. Alright, I think this is keepable. We've got Copter into Pilgrim's Eye and potentially Consul Flagship a bit later if we get good land draws here. We'll play our plains. See what the opponent is working with. Plains also. Alrighty, there's Topplegeist. Play our island and play Smuggler's Copter. Next turn, we should be able to crew it. Whether it will survive long enough to connect, that is a whole nother issue. Looks like perhaps mono white. Could just not have hit their other color/colors yet. Okay, so do we Eldrazi Displacer or Pilgrim's Eye? As we're not really needing to play a 4-drop, and even if we were, we have those lands, I think the Displacer, getting that power and toughness out, is a better call. So we'll play our Westvale Abbey and deploy Displacer. Kind of a tongue twister there. Confirmed. And hopefully They don't have Blessed Alliance, though it's very likely that they do. Yes, please. I don't want to miss our Skysovereign, so I'm going to... Well, we won't. We've got Pilgrim's Eye, so yeah, we'll discard a Plains here. That is, unless they drop a blue mana and then counter it next turn. We should be able to hit with Pilgrim's Eye and get our 5th mana source. Alright, there is Thalia. So our creatures and non-basic lands will enter the battlefield tapped. She can be a bit of an issue. Let's play Glacial Fortress. Tapped there, unfortunately. Yeah, I actually should have thought that through better. Should have played the Plains, though. Playing Glacial Fortress does guarantee that we'll get to play our Skysovereign next turn, so perhaps it was the better call after all. Play our Pilgrim's Eye, also coming into play tapped. And again, we shall fetch up our wastes with it. Confirm. Will give us 2 colorless sources. And let's crew and swing. See what Smuggler's Copter provides for us. A Drowner. Alrighty. So I think now we are going to ditch this Topplegeist. This will guarantee we can play Skysovereign into Drowner. It is important to remember that Wastes is a basic land, so it will come into play untapped. Always watching. I mean, that's good for the opponent. However, it doesn't get Thalia out of Skysovereign's range. We'll just be taking 4 here. Otherwise, it feels like we are pretty firmly in the driver's seat at this point. That could change. Alright, well, we'll play our Waste since they know we have it. And then play Skysovereign. And get Thalia off the board. Hopefully they don't have another in hand. Then we'll crew with Displacer, as it can't profitably swing through Kithion here. And we'll crash with the team. And now we don't care to discard a land from the loot. Yes. Second Drowner, that's great. We will discard Aether Hub, we don't need it. And I think Drowner into Drowner will probably seal this game. Alright, going to 13. And Consul's Lieutenant also entering the fray, so no Thalia that we have to worry about. Also, they don't have enough creatures to trigger the Hanweir Militia Captain to flip into Westvale Cult Leader. They're 1 short on that, which is good for us. Now, we could Evolving Wilds, but I think we want to play our Drowner of Hope. And we will crew Skysovereign with Eldrazi Displacer, as we're not going to be swinging with it. And crew the Copter with an Eldrazi Scion. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That should be the game. Attack with all. We'll go ahead and get this thing off the board. Yes. Discard the Evo Wilds. They have seen the writing on the wall. We'll go ahead and let this damage go through. And I will see you guys in the next game. Well, our opponent was unfortunately replaced by AI. I managed to click the little notification before this came up so I could get a better look at our hand here. We will be keeping this, especially as the opponent's playing first. Perhaps we can get an activation, enters the battlefield trigger from our Knight of the White Orchid, which would be absolutely awesome. we are going to go ahead and lead out on Topplegeist. Then we'll fetch with Evolving Wilds, which also gives us a good excuse not to play the Knight of the White Orchid on turn 2. Oh. Well then, unless this gets incredibly interesting incredibly quickly, I'm just going to cut the rest of this game out. I'll see you guys in the next one. Alright, no disconnect that time. We had another game that I am also cutting out that had a disconnect in the middle of this. This is a bit slow, but it has enough mana to cast a Cloudblazer, well, both of them, so we're going to keep it and hope that we can get there. Connectivity just seems to be not very good today. If it keeps up, I may have to just walk away and try to record the rest of this a bit later. And hopefully we can get some actual humans in the matches. Well, plains it is. Alright, Smuggler's Copter from the opponent. Could have been any number of things on a mountain and a forest there. Voltaic Brawler. Smuggler's Copter as it was. We'll just keep playing our lands and hope we live to start dropping our 5 drops. Alright, Long Tusk Cub going to jump into the Copter and come towards our face. We have no response, so it is definitely going to connect. Alright, Speedway Fanatic. Wondering now if this is a straight red-green sort of vehicles deck or if they're splashing white as well. Well, Glint-Nest Crane does give us something to play. Let's hit an artifact, please, and we did. So, do we want the Pilgrim's Eye or do we want the Smuggler's Copter? I think we want the Copter. Confirm. We're pretty good on lands at present. Let's play out our Westvale Abbey and the Smuggler's Copter. Now we have a reasonable blocker. Alright, Lathnu Hellion. That's a big body. Almost certainly crewing with the cub here. Decided to wait for the energy trigger to resolve, I guess. Or just decided not to crew. This makes me think they have a blossoming defense, but at this point we have to soak up some damage. Plus, the loot will not be useless. And I want to try to prevent them from getting any more energy. They can just pay energy and trade here. The cub with the Copter. But they do have the blossoming defense. Yes, please. Aether Hub, so I'm going to discard a Plains. And the Hellion is going to eat the last of their available energy at the end of their turn if they choose to keep it around. And this turn we need to decide whether Cloudblazer or Reality Smasher is the better play. Reflector Mage is pretty good as well, however, we want to make the best use of our mana, so I think we're going to lead off with Cloudblazer, gain some life and draw some cards. Alrighty. We will not be attacking. Larger than life, okay. So a 6/6 trampling cub, which means we will not be blocking that. We will be blocking the Hellion for sure. Nothing we can do really to prevent them from getting the energy to keep the Hellion around. And does choose to pay the fee again. Alright, so now we are going to play Reflector Mage. Though I guess we should lead off with the Crane, see what we find. If anything, we could very easily miss. We didn't though, Filigree Familiar. But Reflector Mage is the more playable card at the moment. Go ahead and bounce this cub. And we're not going to be blocking with the Cloudblazer, so we're going to attack with it. Alright. We might actually be working our way back into this game. Too soon to tell, though. Also worth noting that the opponent's only on one green source right now, so they don't have the mana to play Bristling Hydra. There is Nissa, though, so they will have that mana available to them next turn. And Voltaic Brawler will provide energy to keep the Hellion around should they choose to. And it's very interesting that they're not crewing the Smuggler's Copter at all. Don't think we can afford to take 4 here, so we will sacrifice our Crane. And does pay the energy again. Alright, Prairie Stream. We don't have enough to play Cloudblazer plus Filigree Familiar. So, Cloudblazer itself is the correct play, I think. Another Reflector. Topplegeist as well. I suppose we will deploy it. And even though it's going to untap, we'll go ahead and tap down the Brawler. Crewing Smuggler's Copter there. And we will not be swinging. This time chooses to crew the Copter with Nissa. Again, makes me feel that they have some sort of trick up their sleeve. Well, they don't have the energy to pump this. It is possible that they have Blossoming Defense or some other pump spell in their hand. There are several instant speed ones. Let's hope they don't have multiple. Going to block there. And we're going to double block there. And... confirm. There is one Blossoming Defense. saving the Smuggler's Copter. So we're going to trade here, take 4, which we took. And there is a second Brawler. They do still have a Long Tusk Cub in their hand, I think. Now, they have not discarded it to the Copter, so that last card we know for sure what it is. Second Westvale Abbey. Let's go ahead and play a Plains. So now we can play Reality Smasher plus one of these 3 drops. The question is, what do we bounce? All of them have relevant enters the battlefield triggers. However, it's going to take them a turn to replay it, so let's go ahead and Reflector the Brawler. And we'll play out Reality Smasher as something big enough to eat their Hellion. And we're not going to attack. Right, crewing the Copter here. And again, they could have a combat trick. There goes the Long Tusk Cub. So we're going to block this thing with everything. We're going to for sure lose one of these creatures. And there is Rush of Adrenaline, so good thing that we did. Reality Smasher stays. And Arlen Cord. Alright. Elder Deep-Fiend is a really good draw here. Let's play a second Westvale Abbey. Then we are going to attack Arlen. And they're going to just let her die, as they most likely should. And we will play... We don't want to tap our blue. Yeah, we'll do that. Play Filigree Familiar and gain some life. And pass the turn. The only question here is if we want to let them swing with the Copter so that we could potentially eat something else with the Elder Deep-Fiend. And I don't think we do. Crewing the Copter. We will wait until attack phase, and then we will emerge onto the Familiar. That's fine. We'll tap, 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 tap. Confirm. Actually, probably shouldn't have tapped the wolf, but went ahead and tapped them out of their green sources. And there is the Brawler we reflected. Alright, so let's play our Pilgrim's Eye. Yes, please. We'll get an island. Don't need to get wastes. We have 3 colorless sources as is. And we will pass. So the question here is, do we block if they have a big enough or enough number of pump spells we could die? However, we are also very close to top decking another creature and flipping Westvale Abbey. So I am not going to block this time. And luckily we're not just dead, unless they have a burn spell for our face. And they appear not to, though they are flipping Nissa. Don't know what took them so long to decide to do that, but... And should probably make a Shia here. Almost always the correct call with a Nissa. You can start ticking it up after that. They have plenty of protection for her. And if I were to attack the whole team to kill Nissa on one, then I would be open and dead. Of course, they don't know what we're holding in hand either, but generally speaking, it's right to make the 4/4 and have something left over if Nissa dies. And they are. Good call. And we will make a cleric. Skysovereign is an excellent draw. So, we can do a few things here. We can play Skysovereign and kill Nissa or one of these. Then we can crew it and sack 5 creatures to Westvale Abbey and flip into Ormondal. We would then gain 9, taking us to 11. And they could swing back for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, putting us to 1, so any pump spell or whatnot would kill us. So I think it's probably best to just kill Nissa and sit back for the moment. Yeah. This also gives us a blocker for Skysovereign. Or not Skysovereign, but for Smuggler's Copter. This is Skysovereign. Goblin Glory Chaser. Interesting. Guess just trying to fill their quota of 1-drops. Okay, are you coming? Yep, with everything. Okay, continue. Let you loot. Hopefully there's not a fiery temper in our future. Appears not to be. So, here, we once again have the option of making Ormondal. So Ormondal can block, say, Voltaic Brawler, gaining us 9, putting us to 11, and then we would take 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We would go right back down to 2. We could also just make a cleric to block, putting us to 1. Hold on now. We are definitely going to crew here. Harnessed Lightning on... Well, now we have to make Ormondal. So, we will crew this again to make sure it becomes a creature first. Pause. Sacrifice, that's fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That fizzles their Harness Lightning and prevents them from getting energy. Go ahead and block there. Reality Smasher's a decent draw. And we're going to swing. And we don't want to tap the Westvale Abbey. Please. Yeah, like that. And it did it anyway. Oh, well. Oh, replaced. We will continue playing. It's not absolutely certain that we're going to pull this out. We're still very touch and go. If our Westvale Abbey had not been tapped there, I would have played the Plains so that we could have made a Cleric. Alright, we'll swing again with Ormondal. And Reality Smasher at this point, since our life total is not in nearly so much danger. Alright, we will kill Ashaya. Discarding Bomat Courier. Alrighty. Play our Aether Hub and pass the turn. Alright, let's make a Cleric. And try to block this Glory Chaser. If they don't say I have some mitigation for Ormondal, then they are dead. That helps. Well, that was an absolute nail-biter of the game. That's the kind of games I like to see. Hopefully you guys will join me in the next one. Alright, we are on the play, and as such, I don't think we can keep this hand. But too many card games playing. Alrighty then, so we're keeping the hand after all. Getting confused over UI interfaces on some of the games that I play. Keep is on this side and Mulligan's on this side, so sorry about that. Alright, let's draw a land, please. Thank you. Okay, we could hold off and hope to be able to trigger this, but I don't think that's a very wise decision. So, here he is. Out there to do some blocking, hopefully. If the opponent doesn't have removal. And they do, Harness Lightning, okay. Well, at least Reflector Mage gets to do something useful. Well, Reality Smasher needs colorless mana, but we do have Reflector Mage for the moment. Go ahead and bounce here. Get rid of those two exiled cards. Alright, Needle Spires. Looks like they are straight red-white. Get their scry there. And back to us, land? No. Yep, this is kind of why I wanted to mulligan. Alright, they are making their land drops, though. Partially in thanks to veteran motorist, I imagine. There's Cultivator's Caravan. So they could be splashing a third color between the Aether Hubs and the Caravan. Black or even blue. Black being the most popular splash. Alright, let's see if we can get our 4th mana. And we do, and it's even colorless. Awesome. Let's see what they've got left. Yeah. We'll definitely be happy to take one of those. No attacks. There's the other dragster. Though they did tap Cultivator's Caravan to cast it, so that's good for us. Don't have to worry about both of these coming in this turn. In fact, it's probably likely that only the dragster will attack. And that looks like the case. So we're going to take some trample damage, but we need to kill it, so... Alright, still need some lands. I mean, that's not a land, but it can maybe find something for us. Let's please tap the Westvale Abbey. Sure. We'll take a Filigree Familiar. And no attacks. Here, alrighty. I would imagine this caravan gets crude and swings at us this turn. Veteran Motorist would make it a 6/6. And that is indeed what's happening. And Pia is making Glinthawk unable to block, maybe? Yep. Alright, swinging with anything else. If it's just the caravan, we're going to be taking 6. Yes, they are. Interesting. Well, Thought-Knot is going to definitely eat the Toolcraft Exemplar. Alright, finally hit another land. And again, we are left with the conundrum of Cloudblazer or Reality Smasher. Reality Smasher blocks much better, but Reality Smasher can't eat the caravan if Veteran Motorist is crewing it in any event, so I think the life plus card draw is probably more useful right now. So, let's see what we get. Alright, awesome. Another land. And we are not attacking. We need to hold back until we can stabilize, if that's even possible at this point. Fiery Impulse. Yep, Cloudblazer down. Crew here, and probably just that swings. Could swing with this to get the extra exile and then sack it once I block with the Glint-Nest Crane. But actually, Thought-Knot would probably block there and Crane here, so that we don't lose the Thought-Knot Seer. Are you going to sack the Bowmat again to stop something from blocking? Probably the Crane. Okay. Alright, okay, I was going to say I will definitely let Thought-Knot gobble her up. No blocks. As crazy as that sounds, we have a Drowner of Hope. Well, Glacial Fortress into Drowner of Hope. And I'm going to swing with the Thought-Knot Seer. As we do need to get our opponent dead before they get us dead. Continue. Said we could play Smuggler's Copter, but that's by sacking these, and I have something more useful to sack them for. Drowner of Hope's tap ability. Alright. Activating that. Last card is a land. So I suppose I don't need to tap anything. If they'd held that card, then I would have had to have tapped the Needle Spires there, which they may have mistapped this. Just went with whatever the game suggested. Yep, holding back. I'm guessing that was an interface mistake there. And now we have Elder Deep-Fiend available to us. We don't want to tap the blue, please. Kind of hard to tell sometimes what it's trying to tap. Alright, I think that's the 3 planes in the Westvale Abbey. Or just the 3 planes. That's fine too. Either which, well, darn it. Not the blue. Please? Cast it. Thank you. Get really frustrated with this interface sometimes. And we do need to play a mana producing thing. So now we could swing with Thought-Knot Seer and trade with these two. That would let them draw a card. Actually, I'm kind of okay with that right now. So we will swing with both of those. They choose not to block. And pass. Top decking lands. Probably be more careful when they activate this time. And they are. We will definitely be emerging our Deep-Fiend here, which will probably win us the game. Did they crew with all of that for some reason? Well, no matter, whatever. We are going to sacrifice the Filigree Familiar. Yeah. And tap down everything else. Draw a card from the Familiar. And we are presenting quite a bit more than lethal damage here. So, let's swing. And on to the next one. Well, we are on the draw. Our opponent mulliganed to 6. This is a keepable hand in any event. Click the right button that time, just make you absolutely sure. Okay, well, we will lead off with Prairie Stream. Looks like our opponent is thus far mono green. We'll see if that continues. Go Glacial Fortress, pass. Next turn we can start deploying our stuff. Okay. Well, that has kind of been the story of the day. However, it didn't happen during the pairing this time, so, Fairgrounds Trumpeter. Looks like maybe a +1/+1 counter-centric deck. Well, I am sorry to stunt your growth, but we are playing this to try to win. I mean, having fun too. We can have fun whether we win or lose, but winning's always nice. Alright, Topplegeist. Let's attack first, shall we? This is maybe splashing colorless Eldrazi and such as we are. Let's go ahead and play out our Displacer. Could have went with the Pilgrim's Eye also. I guess we'll play our Topplegeist as well. We don't have anything in the graveyard as of yet, but putting a little pressure on the board seems okay. But as I was saying, we could have played our Pilgrim's Eye to make sure to play Reality Smasher next turn. I don't think that's horribly important yet. Cultivator of Blades. What do you choose for the fabrication? The pluses. Okay. Well, let's play our Pilgrim's Eye, I think. Let's not tap everything except Westvale Abbey, please. This game's choices of what mana to tap are very silly. And we've got all the blue we need, so we'll get a Plains. We could use some more colorless sources eventually here. Get multiple activations from our Displacer. But for right now, we're going to see if the opponent's willing to trade this Cultivator for it. And they are. I'm quite happy with that trade as well. And a Woodland Bellor. That could be problematic. What are you getting? Tracker, okay. Thought-Knot Seer, or Reality Smasher, or Hold Up Deep-Fiend. I think it's Hold Up Deep-Fiend. And in the meantime, we're going to hit for 2. Plus, we're holding up Spell Queller at the same time, so continue. Okay, going to attack. Well, we are going to Deep-Fiend. Emerge onto this. Yeah, that's fine. Let's tap 1. And 2, 3, 4. As we're still not certain as to the color requirements of their deck. More than happy to eat this tireless tracker. Long Tusk Cub, okay. That forced them to use their energy to play. Land drops being made seems good. Again, we've got lots of decisions here. We could Filigree Familiar, hold up Spell Queller. We could just Reality Smasher and smash. That would probably trade with these two. We could Thought-Knot Seer and see what's in their hand. That would make it unable to play either of these 3 drops. So I think what we want to do first is swing with our Flyer and our Deep-Fiend. And it looks like that's getting through. So I'm going to Thought-Knot Seer. Just really want to rip something good out of their hand here. And I mean, Nissa's Renewal seems pretty good. And they definitely have the mana to cast it. They have Creeping Mold also, but that's less relevant to me. Okay, Aether Hub. Growing their tireless tracker there. And swinging with just the tracker. Well, we could trade our Thought-Knot Seer for it. And I think I will. Unless they top-decked a pump spell, this should be a trade. Yep, well, draw a random card, please. Random is in the top of your deck, but, you know, it was shuffled, so it's random. Ah, Nissa. Okay, then. Eldrazi Displacer is a very good draw. And that will be our play. Holding up Spell Queller and the activation here. And we will swing for 1 in the air. And we will swing at them. And the best way to deal with the Planeswalker at this point, I think, is to just kill the player. There's the Trumpeter. Alright, Drownyard Temple. Alright, no attacks. Going to animate Inventor's Fair. And Creeping Mold targeting the Abbey. I don't think that that's in my best interests. Though I can understand why you would think it's in yours. Cloudblazer. Awesome. Well, let's swing in the air. And play our Blazer. Okay. Well, wish I had paid more attention to the tapping and tapped the Westvale Abbey, but such is life. We are presenting lethal in the air next turn. Okay. Well, I shall try to eat it. And eat it I shall. Well, I guess that's the game? We'll see. there, there, there. Alright, looks like that's it. And I think that's it for this episode of Friday Night Magic, friends. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please leave a like below. It really does help tremendously. And subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more videos from me in the future. I have been Tevaron, and until next time, friends, be excellent to each other.